Because in front of a camera, people behave differently. That's what documentary is so exciting to make, because even if you think they'll do that, you know what they do, you know their work, in front of a camera, something comes out of people. And if you can catch that, it's very exciting. I was a photographer and doing different things, but loving to look at people and get the right moment, do something. But being a photographer teaches you to go to see people, meet places, find ideas about how to put people in their own surrounding or taking them out. So from photography, I switched to cinema. I don't know how and why. I had taken many photos of fishermen in the south of France, a set. So I wrote a documentary about the fishermen I had made photos of, but I wanted to alternate it with a couple speaking. So that was my first film. But it was not a real documentary because I made them react things I had observed. It looks a little like a documentary because they are true, they are in their own houses, they behave more or less true, but it has been reacted. While later, I made real documentaries. Some that was asked, command, I don't know, call that, commission, about the Castle of Loire, about the south of Riviera, etc. But then I would say my first real documentary was made in this street, Rue Daguerre. It's called Daguerreotype. And I was impressed by my neighbors, my real neighbors, shopkeepers, the people that you can enter. I mean, it's in a shop you can go. You don't have to ask. You don't have to make a special ambassade before going, So I started to ask them to just film what was in the shop. And I filmed all the way very near my house. I would say my, quote, butcher, my bread commanding baker, my hairdresser, etc. In a block, very small block. And I learned a lot. And then later, even though I made fiction, as you know, I'm well known for films like Clos from 5 to 7 or Le Bonheur, or etc. I never quit doing documentary. I have a way of saying it's a school of modesty. It's a school of getting back to how is the world. Not only my ideas, making a deal, getting actors to do this and this. You have to be in front of what you film. And you have to be really behind the camera. No ego. No, I'm so smart. I mean, just have them exist. Get the best you can get. Now, I'm speaking about making documentaries in which they may know they are filmed, but they forget about it. So they let themselves forget about the camera. I made a documentary in the street. That's another thing. You just film people that don't even know they're filmed. I was on a chair with my little camera, a 16mm camera. This is called L'Opéra Mouffe. This is 57, And I would just film the people in the street, just getting the ambiance, the faces, the misery of that neighborhood. That's it. What's one kind that you just go around. I was saying that if you ask somebody to make a documentary, obviously you have a camera. I behave. I put my little spot thing. I be careful that I don't have a hole in my bag. But I'm used to it, So it has nothing to do with people that in the street or somewhere in the fields who say, hey, what? Would you like to speak to me? Would you agree? They say, I don't know, I have nothing to say. But then they have something to say. Because everybody needs dialogue. Everybody needs to express himself or herself. I was going directly from 1975 to 2000, when I made The Gleaners. That was about people getting food in the street or getting food abandoned on the fields. What I understood that I have to stay a long time with them because they're not used to speak. Sometimes they repeat themselves, but then little by little, it's like their mind adjusts to finally say something very clear that they want to say. And at the end, I found out they speak very well. What I understood and learned is that you're supposed to have people who know how to speak well, and people who are not so articulated, supposedly the workers, the poor. Now, if you listen to them, they have very, very specific, bright mind, and they have very interesting things to say, and they find the right words. It takes a little time to have them be enough at ease. So, which explains that sometimes you film 1 hour and more, then you understand that you will get 3 minutes of something very interesting about them. I work on the sound. I type everything they say, and I have the pages of the sound. And from that, I made editing. I spent a lot of time in editing. Documentary needs a lot of editing. In order to have the spectators meet the real people in the documentary, you have to make an editing that put them in their best so that they are real people. And I don't want to name people, but I hate documentary in which you zoom to find out the default or the way they lie or something which has, like as if you were a spy of the person. I don't want to be a spy of the person I film. I want to be a friend. Maybe they don't like me enough, but I like them enough. I sort of spray kind of affection and love to whoever I film. That's the point for me. And then something comes out of that, because they feel that you fill them with, you care, you wish them to be good. And I love sometimes say, okay, do this way, you will look better. Just to say that I care about the way they look. And it gives them confidence. And also because the older I am, the old people trust me. A little old lady, she cannot be trying to hurt you or to betray you or something. It helps a lot. If you see a poor old man, can you just imagine he has been a baby? If you look at drunken, blind woman like this in the street, you have to put your mind in focus that she has been a baby. But it doesn't say, the film doesn't say it, the narration doesn't say it. It's just my sensibility, which was very high on people. Now, I want to make a point about technique, because for some documentaries, you cannot use your big camera that I've been using in many films with a DP. But I understood that sometimes you have to approach the people alone. Then I have been working a lot with cameras like this. Now, this is the last one. Look how small it is. This is high definition, and it has sound. I even have a smaller one in my pocket. Is it here? That I can sometimes just pick what happens. This is a camera. And this is high definition. It's very easy, It's easy. And then if I don't want to miss something, I can do it right away because, I can have you here. There is enough light, no problem. But you see, then I have this one, which is also HD. So according to what I do, tripod, handmade, it means that there is no door between the desire of filming something and the possibility. If I can have a better camera, if it's something that can be organized with a tripod, with light, fine, perfect. But these images mix very well. And the Beaches of Agnès, which is supposed to be a documentary, but it's something, it's hybrid, Hybrid, is it the more? Hybrid. Because some things have been remade, others are very documentary, some excerpts of other films. So I went from one technique to another, and mostly editing. They call it documentary, okay. So I was in the category of documentary. Oh, I was so proud. I was pre-nominated for the Oscar, but I didn't went from the short list of 15 to 5. I dropped. But I would have loved to be, in a way, with a documentary of creation, which is not only a reality, which is a real life, but as a dream, as a show, as a sensitive, real feature. Because I think what is bad for cinema is the categories. This is real fiction, this is fake fiction, this is documentary, this is fake. Okay, this is just film. Documentary, as I said, which is a way of getting back to you are behind the subject which is more important than you, puts you again in your feet, in your life. That's the way I feel it. Because the ego of being a artist, a screenplay writer, a director, praised, etc. You can get the same with a documentary, It's just that your attitude while filming is totally different. You're not the master of the world of a feature film in which 60 technicians wait for you to say this, say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. You're just a person trying to get reality, the best of reality, or even what is strange in everybody. Where is the point where they want to say, they don't want to say. I never push somebody, but it's interesting that everybody is so full of mystery, so full of beauty, so full of tenderness hidden behind sometimes, but just bad words. I'm intrigued by people, and I love them, to be honest. I love them. I like the idea that you are at the service of your subject. You want the subject to be understandable, slightly mysterious, but you want the people in your subject to appear as a part of society, a very specific individual, and also a part of a community, let's say, shopkeepers or community of gleaners. Everybody is in a community of something. Fishermen, categories, but groups. And a group, every person is part of a group. So you have to feel the group and the person as a unique. And that's why I like to do documentaries, and I like to see them, and I like to appreciate them. And I think it's interesting that recently documentaries have been again among, shows that people can see. But for a long time, they were out of the circle. They were just pushed. There are many people working very well. It's a point of view which is important. The word point of view is the key, because you can also document anything. You can just film. I think it's interesting to raise a question before you film, or suggest a point of view, or suggest something, a field you want to investigate about. Having a subject, in a way, is more interesting before filming anything, or filming too much. But there have been... Il y avait des documentaires. Now, the question is that some documentaries, school of documentaries, that started to be around my time also, some fois they were serious and rather boring, as if they had to explain, like a teacher has to explain. My point was always, and very often I succeeded, to bring it as a real question, but also as a show, with some smiles, with some jokes, some side digression, you call it, because to get people to stay with me, and then get the words and the impression and the problem expressed by people in the Glean, which is a very serious subject about our society of consummation and waste. Sometimes I would stop because there was a flower, a purple flower, or I would film my cat, or because I don't have to express my ego, but I'm the person making the film, and I wanted to exist naturally, not express anything special, but just feel that behind the camera there is somebody who also sometimes sits in the sun and look at the ocean, and then speak with the fishermen and their problems. I like to keep the feeling of life inside every documentary, the feeling of my life as part of the life of everybody, not make a lesson, not make a message, not make, like the teachers who say chapter 1, chapter 2. Let's keep life and some, not sweetness, but some just going naturally to one thing to another, and then get the real point and get the real problem and get the real people to say something important. At the time of the French New Wave, the famous French New Wave, I say famous because at that time it has been a very big impact on other cinematographies in the world. At that time, I was the only woman Not that there were not other women directors, is that I was the only woman for a new cinema, for what I call cinécriture, you know, a cinema in which find a language typically for the new spirit of what cinema could do, how we could build. I was mostly interested in structures in films, like the time in Cleo from 5 to 7, or the structure of the movement, or I made a film called Saint-Ouen, Vagabond, in which I had only 13 traveling shots, or structuring the film. So among these people, I've been certainly one of the most interested in how to build a new language, which happened to Pasolini, which happened to Alain Resnais or Marquet. We don't want to make more films or be in the career. I mean, that I'm a searcher in a way. As a woman, I love the feeling of handmade. I love the feeling that I can raise the production, make the film, be sometimes even the film myself, do the editing from one day to the last day, and we do our trailers. I edit my trailers, and we do the press book. I did we because I'm not alone. I'm surrounded, I'm helped, but I love the idea that, and the ultimate is that in that editing room, because there is a window, we can put a DVD, and some people come in and buy the DVD. And I love the idea that it's like a peasant who does tomatoes, and and people come and buy the tomatoes where they have been done, where they grew. And I like the idea that I'm not in a system in which there are so many people in between. I feel that it's so easy. The question is, it's so easy that everybody could do it. What makes the difference when I do it or when another filmmaker does it? It's a point of view. It's the attitude toward people. It's the desire to frame, the desire to get the more significant image or the more touching image so that they could go to other people. You know, I never film like this just to say I film. The question is not to be a woman making a film. It's a big filmmaker making something interesting, creating a new language. I think it's important to offer images with the space and the silence sometimes so that they have to read it themselves. And we have to respect the ability of everybody, the intelligence of everybody to understand an image and a film and an editing. And every single film, every single story is a puzzle. You bring the pieces. Does it make an image at the end that makes sense? Does it end with a face or a landscape or a black wall, you know? You don't know. You know you work, but you don't exactly know what you build, what puzzle you finish. And what I love the most and what I feel the most now being old, that some pieces of the puzzle are missing. And they will be missing all the time. And there is no one documentary that has all the pieces of the puzzle. It's just some pieces. And you have to invent, to understand, to imagine the rest. There is no truth, you know that.